Statements to remember sample. CompTIA plus 220, 801 and 802.
The main purpose of cleaning the printer during the imaging process is to take off any residual toner left after development.
A user setting up a Soho wireless network not wanting their neighbors to be able to discover the network would most likely configure to disable SSID broadcast.
VGA is most likely to experience gradual degraded signal quality over a long distance.
Dot matrix printers require manual alignment.
While hooking up a 5.1 surround sound system, the front and rear channels produce sound but the subwoofer and front speakers appear muted. You check the subwoofer and front channel speakers RCA connections.
If you observe another technician trying to steal a company laptop, your next step is to report through proper channels.
The backlight in older laptop screens is a CCFL lamp.
When you are told that printing to a shared printer nothing is happening and the user has verified the printer is on, the most likely cause is a print server does not have network connectivity.
Besides the CPU, a graphics card might have its own heatsink.
A CAD/CAM user requires faster on-screen refresh rates, so you install a graphics card using a PCIe port.
After replacing a keyboard and a laptop and the keyboard does not work, you most likely did not properly connect the data cable.
Troubleshooting the PC that is not completing post, merely providing an audible beep code. You first check the memory configuration.
CDFS is the best format for optical media.
Following behind someone when entering a secure area is known as tailgating. Turnstiles and other man traps mitigate this threat.
Browser redirection can be caused by a virus called a hijack.
A user calls the help desk and says they're receiving an IP conflict error on the company network that uses DHCP. You have verified the PC is using DHCP to obtain its TCP/IP settings. To attempt to resolve the issue, you first issue the command ipconfig/release followed by ipconfig/renew. When
troubleshooting a broken PC, you find a small burning odor coming from inside the case. This is most likely an indication the PSU has experienced an electrical burn.
To limit computer access to certain users, you configure the local security policy.
A user on a domain network is unable to install required software. This is most likely caused by being in the standard user group.
A user reports after a technician cleaned up a rogue antivirus program, the customer cannot browse the web. The first thing you check are the proxy settings.
Statements to remember sample network plus N10005. A proxy server is used to filter outgoing network requests.
An environment with STP disabled, the most likely cause of exponential increase in repeat packets being transferred through the network is a switching loop.
In the TCP/IP model, the application layer is equal to the OSI model session layer.
Load balancing is a method for network performance optimization to distribute traffic among similar devices.
When using dynamic DNS, the host IP address is assigned by DHCP.
After generator tests, several users are reporting network connectivity issues. The network technician is unable to connect via SSH to the main switch. This is most likely caused by a power loss.
A network technician is unable to remotely manage or ping certain layer 2 switches. To manage these devices remotely, an IP address on a native VLAN interface most likely needs to be configured.
A content filter is used to restrict access according to user policies.
You need multiple networks, high speed and redundancy on your network system, therefore you consider port mirroring and VLANs.
A user has no network connectivity. You are unable to locate the Cat5e cable from the user at the IDF. You use a toner probe to locate the cable.
You suspect a duplicate IP address assignment on the network. You use the syslog to verify the problem.
You have configured a new switch that is remotely accessed using SSH. The switch is working correctly, however you cannot access it remotely. You suspect the most likely missing piece in the configuration is the crypto key.
Statements to remember CompTIA Cloud Essential CLO001.
Public cloud computing as opposed to outsourcing means there are no upfront CAPEX, capital expenditures, costs for hardware.
Vendor lock-in is an important factor for maintaining strategic flexibility.
The most significant difference between SIAS and IARs is IARs can test network configurations.
Software for quickly provisioning virtual servers such as Eucalyptus and Bitnami have not yet acquired an acronym.
Considering the cloud ecosystem when developing applications can speed up the development process.
A vendor must be able to fulfill network maintenance and physical security for a successful IaaS solution.
Periodic penetration testing should be implemented to validate the application security of a cloud provider's SaaS application.
When migrating a software development platform from in-house framework to a cloud-based POS, familiarization will be required with the cloud provider's APIs, web services and development frameworks.
Scalability is a characteristic of cloud computing to easily grow in response to an increase in demand.
Cost allocation relates to identifying costs and assigning them to specific cost categories, while chargeback is focused on recovering costs from consumers of the cloud-delivered services.
Statements to remember CTT plus TKO, 201 sample.
An instructor advises the learners during a lengthy presentation there will not be time for questions until the end. This affects the learner's knowledge and comprehension because they may not understand the topic and then they may fail to follow subsequent topics.
An instructor has just finished a lesson on a topic that is essential to understanding the next topic in the course. Most of the learners are looking at the instructor with blank expressions. When asking to see if the learners understand the concepts, most learners look away. The best next step given the learner's reaction is to review the main points of concept and use examples that aid in stimulating discussion.
Reviewing the course objectives on the first day of the course, several learners indicate that they already covered 1/3 of the objectives in a previous course. For most others in the course, the content is entirely new. In deciding what to do under these circumstances, the instructor does not take into consideration whether the course objectives were advertised before the beginning of the course.
In a class, it is clear students have little understanding of the information and are becoming less and less interested in attempting to answer questions the trainer is asking during the course of instruction. The trainer changes the way of responding to student answers.
Illustrating a point, a trainer used a joke the students did not understand. The trainer ignores this and continues with the lesson.
Learners in a course are unfamiliar with the course subject matter. The most appropriate action for the instructors to take is to develop frames of reference common to the learners.
Statements to remember, Security Plus, SYO 301, sample.
A vulnerability scan can identify the security posture of the network without actually exploiting any weaknesses.
A Trojan was recently discovered on the server. There are now concerns there has been a security breach that allows unauthorized access. The administrator is looking for the presence of a backdoor.
Brute force can be used by a security administrator to successfully recover a user's forgotten password on a password-protected file.
An IT security technician receives a call from the vulnerability assessment team, informed her that port 1337 is open on the user's workstation. This type of malware is best described as a backdoor.
The security administrator uses a penetration test to actively test the application security controls are in place.
A PKI is least hardened when a malicious CA certificate is loaded on all the clients.
Cloud computing can store multi-tenant data with different security requirements.
A system administrator has decided to use SNMP version 3 on the network router in the off-prib mode, so the algorithm combination that is valid is 3DES, MD5.
A credit card and payment are an example of multi-factor authentication.
A security administrator wishes to ensure that certain types of users can only gain access to the system during specific shifts, so he implements time of day restrictions.
A company has decided to allow some employees remote access into corporate headquarters. You implement a firewall and a VPN.
You have been tasked with explaining smart cards to the company's management team. You explain the two smart card types, CAC and PIV.
The security administrator has installed a new KDC for the corporate environment. He is planning to implement Kerberos across the organization.
Employee badges are encoded with a private encryption key and specific personal information, which is then used to provide access to the network. This describes smart card access control.
A security technician wants to know who had possession of the hard drive prior to forensics analysis. The technician checks the chain of custody.
Another creation by TCAT.
This is just a small sample of statements to remember. Available at Google Play.
Learn through repetition while you're doing something else more fun, productive, or both.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
Checks the chain of custody.
Another creation by TCAT.
This is just a small sample of statements to remember. Available at Google Play.
Learn through repetition while you're doing something else more fun, productive, or both.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.